Welcome to the Tao of Pizza, where we feature top logistics leaders, entrepreneurs, and supply chain innovators and share their inspiring stories with a holistic twist.
Mark Hiddleson here, host of the Tao of Pizza podcast, where I talk with top industry innovators in the warehousing, logistics, and supply chain business with a holistic twist. Some of our outstanding past guests include some of our best industry partners, our top clients who are all leading-edge warehousing and logistics professionals, and some of my friends in the personal and professional development ecosystem. Before I introduce today's guest, Danielle Neely, I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Rice of Rise 25, and he's also the host of the Inspired Insider and co-founder of Rise 25. He's been a great friend, coach, business mentor, and he actually introduced me to today's guest, Danielle Neely. So big shout out. Check out Jeremy's podcast and the Rise 25 website. So before I introduce Danielle, this episode is brought to you by Specialized Storage Solutions, Inc. And I think everyone's starting to figure it out by now. I've been in the logistics and storage industry for several decades. So what that means is we're able to provide industry-leading warehouse storage solutions nationwide. So basically, if you have a warehouse that needs rack, shelving, carts, conveyors, or mezzanines, we help with the design, engineering, installations, and inspections, and also repairs to help our clients optimize their logistics operations. And Danielle, it's even funny, some people don't realize we can actually help with permit acquisition services. What we do is take a holistic look at your entire business supply chain ecosystem to develop the resources for continuing improving your operation. To learn more, visit our website at specialracks.com. Give us a call at 707-732-3892. One of the best ways to connect or learn more about our products and services is to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I also give out my personal email address for podcast listeners. So email me at markhiddleson@aol.com if you're ready to take your warehouse and storage and retrieval systems to the next level. So today we're joined by Danielle Neely. Danielle is the co-founder of KNC Marketing, a full-service agency specializing in helping B2B industrial companies grow their brands and increase sales through expert brand development, website design, and marketing services. She's also the co-host of the Industry Edge podcast. Danielle dives deep into the stories and strategies of leaders shaping the world's hardest-working industries, manufacturing, distribution, construction, and beyond. Her passion for people and work at KNC Marketing is focused on helping industrial companies stand out, connect with their ideal audience, and achieve their growth goals with thoughtful branding and marketing strategies. Danielle, welcome to the Tao of Pizza.
Thanks for having me. What an intro. I love it.
You're a rock star.
When you hear it like that, you're like, ooh, say more. Love it. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm like, well, I want to book an appointment. And I'm like, wait a minute, I already have.
So, you already did that. You already did it.
So today we get to have a little fun. I want to find out more. When we first met, I saw your phone number was a 951. I'm thinking, oh, Southern California, and I'm from California, so you're actually somewhere else. So share a little bit about the journey, how you got to Tennessee.
Yeah, I do still have a 951 number, so represent Southern California, absolutely. So when I was born and raised in Southern California, I was there through college, and then I actually interned with my cousin and now business partner. She is the other co-founder of KNC Marketing. I interned with her. She was living here in Nashville at Bridgestone Tires when she was working there at the time, and came here, fell in love with the place, actually met my husband within the first week of being here, and then decided to make the move after college. And then I have never changed my phone number. So there's that. I probably should change it at some point to a 615 phone number. But yep, so still represented that phone number, the 951. But when I came here after college, I went and worked for a Swiss manufacturing company called Franke. They do large industrial food service equipment for big companies like McDonald's, Burger King, some of those fast casual restaurants. So worked there. And then I was a part of like a big corporate layoff with their company. And it was a blessing in disguise because that's kind of how KNC Marketing was born. So me and my business partner found that we work really well in the B2B, rugged industrial space. We know it. That's what our backgrounds are in. So that's kind of how we've fallen into that niche of serving those particular clients. So that is the journey from the 951 to the 615 in a little recap.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And what part of Southern California were you born and raised? Because Southern California
River,
is huge. Somebody was showing me a map, but it's like the
you're
difference
like, oh
between Santa Monica and LA is huge. And I'm like, wait a minute, most of our clients are in the Inland Empire, which is, an hour and a half from LA. So
the IE, that's actually where I'm from. So Riverside is where I was born and raised. And then I went to school in Fullerton, so like Orange County area. But Riverside, and that's where my parents and my brothers still live and have plenty of friends and stuff that are still there as well. So yep, the IE, when I explain to people, I go, it's about an hour east of LA. It's nowhere, it's kind of closer to the desert than it is to the beach in a sense. So yep, those are the old stomping grounds.
this is awesome. I almost went to college at UC Riverside. I was going to
Okay.
play baseball. I was on the baseball team. I had a baseball scholarship, and I got hurt my senior year in baseball. I hurt my rotator cuff. I still could have I still could have gone to Riverside, but I was nervous about going that far from. I'm like a Northern California boy, and it was far. But we went back. We toured Fullerton. My daughter she just graduated from Oregon State a few years ago. We looked at Fullerton. What an awesome school! We loved the location, everything about that.
Oh
Great
yeah, I
place.
loved it. Very close to the beach. It was a like ideal location. We'd go to Disneyland on like you could go to Newport in 25 minutes. It's such a good location. If you're, it was a dream going to school there. So
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah. We drove by the junior college in Fullerton. I looked at that, and I was like, "That's where I want to." Like I'm 50 now. Like that's where I want to go to school. Is really Fullerton's
Yep, the
cool.
JC.
Yeah,
It's
right
just as
downtown.
nice. It's just as nice. Absolutely. It's right next to, yeah, right next
Yeah.
to downtown. Dang, you're bringing me back.
Okay.
It brings
Yeah.
me back. That
Awesome.
road, I would do that road a lot often from where I lived closer to campus to downtown. You know how that goes. You got to be downtown when you're in college.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to be there. I was like, this is where, guys, if I had it to do over again, I would be going to school. I wish I would have toured that school instead of UC Riverside. I would have
Absolutely.
went to
Yeah.
Fullerton. So
But yeah,
share a little bit about the early days at KNC marketing and how you got started. What were the early days like? And share, I love, because I'm in that industrial space, all my clients, I love this. So share a little bit about early days and then what you like about this type
yeah,
of the rugged
absolutely.
industrial.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say when we first started, it was very much like typical business owners. Okay, we know we have a skill set. We know there's a need in this community for it. What are we really good at? Just really that come to the kitchen table, figure out what our business is going to be. We actually rebranded last year. So we used to be Keckler Neely and Co., which is my last name and then my business partner. And then we evolved into KNC Marketing just because our vision grew with our company and Keckler Neely and Co. It served its time, but it was time to kind of go on to
Yeah.
bigger, better things. But I think when we first started, we both had really small goals, if you would, and vision for what it could be. It's like, hey, if we could have a couple clients and do some work and, make a little bit of money, great. And then we just found that there was a need that kept growing in the community. And then it expanded to, started just within our city of like serving clients there. And we started kind of just taking on anything and everything in the beginning. You just take what comes your way. And then we really leaned into, we do a really good job and we really enjoy working with those more rugged industrial manufacturers. We have material handling company clients. We have equipment rental company, like water and wastewater, those more, again, the B2B industrial rugged businesses is what we did a really good job and we just loved and thrived in. It doesn't mean we don't have other clients in those other sectors, but I think as it grew, we realized, okay, we do a really good job at this and we work really well with those people. So we kind of leaned into it then and further have refined like, okay, this is what we're really, really good at. And this is what we do really, really well for companies and have really leaned into that versus going and doing a bunch of other things.
So share a little bit about I was thinking the experience, was it Frankie's? It was Frankie's was the company that made it was ovens and everything for McDonald's. So what did you learn? Because I bet you learned a lot, not just about ovens and McDonald's, but what did you learn about distribution systems and the way things work in that kind of a business? Like, what are some of the
Yeah.
things that you learned?
It was a great learning experience, especially because when I came into working with Frankie, I was actually kind of coming in to work under a girl who was going out on maternity leave. So they were like, she did a really good job, but I was only with my manager for a couple months, and then I had to kind of figure things out as I went. But that is the best way to learn, especially if you are a newly graduated person. If you can just jump into a career and run with it and not get tactical experience, hands-on experience, makes such a difference. And then you look back and you go, dang, it was really, really hard. And I had to learn a lot on the fly, but there's such valuable lessons that you learn there. But as far as like what I learned from, the distribution model of like going through reps and distributor groups and marketing to those channels and knowing that when you're marketing to those people, it's more about equipping the people that are selling your products and services out to the world, equipping them with the right tools that they need to do their job versus this is who we are, this is what we sell. Like if you're not equipping those distributors and those reps in the marketplace with what they need to do, like what they need to push your product, they're not going to push your product. They're going to push other products on the market. So learning what they need and listening and really building marketing collateral and tactics around that was something that was a big learning curve in the beginning, because I'm like, oh, it's not just marketing to one set of people, you're marketing to different groups and they're all different messages that you're having to come up with. So that was understanding the different audiences that we're talking to and how to equip them was vastly, vastly important with just learning messaging and branding overall.
Because you're not more, so the end users of that product is be like McDonald's or Burger King or Carl's Jr., right? Or something like that. So you're not marketing to them, you're marketing to the people who actually sell to them, right? Who's distributors or was it other manufacturers or contractors? What are some of the people that you've worked with just in that space alone? What are some of the different types of distribution?
That, like, for instance, if you look back on, if there's various vendors that are a part of that make up the makeup of a McDonald's or a Burger King or things like that. So it's like, why is this distributor partner choosing Franke or pushing the Franke product over anything else? Is it easy to use because at the end of the day too, you're not talking to people who go eat at McDonald's or people that eat at these restaurants. You're talking to the people that are working in it. So how are you able to differentiate your product? And you're also not speaking to them. You're talking to the people that manage and build these on a mass scale. But how are you differentiating yourself from the competitors and supporting the people who sell it from that front?
Nice. So there's a lot. I figured there was a lot to learn, and you were involved in the marketing. Frankie's, that was a department. Then the first job that you got when you took over somebody who left, it was what was the role? Just as out of curiosity.
The role that was on maternity leave.
Yeah.
So she was the marketing manager, and me and her had a wonderful relationship, and she was a wonderful boss. But she was like, she's having a baby. So, and then I was her marketing specialist. So I think I got hired. I'd have to, gosh, I feel like I had a few months with her before she left for a couple months. She came back, and then we were a power couple after that within it. But so yeah, I was a marketing specialist and she was the marketing manager. And primarily what I did and I led was a lot of like trade show planning and coordination. Frankie was heavily involved in the big restaurant and equipment shows that happen. There's one in Chicago, the National Restaurant Association, and then there was one NAFM, which was National Food Service. Gosh, I'm going to forget all the acronyms now. It's been a minute since I've been right in there. But planning those trade shows and all the logistics that go along with it, which I'm sure you understand as well, being from logistics, but that was a lot of my key role too, was planning those kinds of things.
Cool. I love industry events. I'm going to get more into it. That's what we built our business, a lot of that of being at ProMat, which is our industry show, which is in Chicago. The Warehouse Education and Research Council, they put on. So that's where you meet. That's where you really meet the leaders. And I love your story of the trial by fire. Like you're saying, there's no other way to learn than to just be. I heard the saying that some people are born into leadership, some people achieve leadership, and some people have leadership thrust upon them. That's what happened to you. You had it thrust upon you.
Yes. And it makes you be crafty too. I think there's something of like, I was new, I was young, I was the youngest person in my division, and I was brand new trying to figure all this out. And because, when she did go out on maternity leave, I'm like, well, who can I lean on to ask questions? We had an amazing president at the time, but he was busy, he was on the road. So I had to kind of just ask around for things that I knew, like people that had been there for a long time, asking them questions and learning from different departments and areas. And it just made me be assertive. Like it taught me some assertiveness as well. But yeah, trial by fire is definitely what that is. But that's where you come out. You come out of it so much stronger. It doesn't kill you, make you stronger. So
yeah, no, I like that. So I can tell. And I wanted to bring this up in the form of a question, but one of the things I admire about you already, and we've just met only in a couple weeks, is you were really proactive. And we were introduced by Jeremy, and I always pride myself on I follow up on stuff, right? If you give me a lead, which is funny, you gave me a lead that I haven't followed up on. I'm gonna talk to you after the show on that.
I was going to ask about that.
So I'm glad you didn't ask me before, because now I got to say it first. But you beat me to the punch.
There you go.
You went on to my calendar and booked your own interview. And I'm like, I like that. So what is it? I call it being proactive. It's not aggressive. You use the word assertive, but like it's just part of your natural self-expression to follow up conscientious. So just share a little bit about why are you such a dynamo? And then you even said thank you. Like I'm always good. Like no one ever says thank you for the referral, right? Nobody does. It's like get referrals, you go. So I'm always good. Like I'm going to say thank you. Then I go to say thank you. It's like she already said thank you.
I'm on it. Okay.
So share about that.
Yeah, I'm a details person by nature. Like that's just kind of how I roll. Within KNC, I kind of lead all things operations and creative, which I get to use that side of my brain as well. But I'm very detail oriented. And I think there's power in timeliness of like, if you talk with somebody about, and you do what you say you're going to do right after, not 5 minutes or, hey, I'll get back to you tomorrow. There's certain things that take more time, but there's some power in right after having a conversation with somebody, following up with exactly what you said you were going to do, taking that initiative, being really proactive in already thinking of if it's going to be a potential meeting with somebody, you need to throw out some dates of what can work for you or look on their calendar. And it shows that you're eager to work with them and be proactive. My husband had this tactic that he does. If it takes less than 5 minutes, then you should do it right then. Like there's no reason why you can't make 5 minutes to do something. And I've taken that to heart within my business of like, if this can take me just a couple minutes to knock out and do for somebody, I'm going to do it. So I always try to do it right after. If it's like, hey, I'm going to send you this presentation that we just went through, I'm going to send it right after, right? And it's going to be in your inbox. So there's some power in timeliness. People are really bad at communicating these days, and email, getting back to people, responsiveness. There's such a problem with it that if you can separate yourself and go over and pick up the phone if you need to, or text somebody if you need to, and not hide behind email. I think there's such power in that of like, hey, I don't know if I pressed record on this recording. Can we see that? And owning up to things when you do something wrong or you have a mistake, people are way more apt to work with you if you're honest and you're upfront about the mistakes that you've made in the past too. So that's definitely the way that I roll.
Yeah, like if you ever recorded a full podcast and then didn't have it recorded, and that half of that is on me too. If that ever happens to you, I'll take credit for partial, because it was my Zoom thing. And I think I'm such a pro with Zoom. Sometimes you can get overconfident. But I love what you said about the timeliness of like to me, it's an energy, and I call it energy, and it's not like woo woo woo, but it's like who are the people who keep the ball rolling? Because that's what you need in art. Like we're always any project that we do involves multiple resources. There's an engineering team, there's a layout team, there's a permit processing team, there's an install, three, four, five, six manufacturers and electrician, and it's like if you stop anything on that critical path method, everything affects everything else. And
Right.
so we have, and our team is really good, but there's improvement within our team. Like I want to have you come and put a like this is how it's done because you did. I pride myself on being like I'm going to be more proactive, and you beat me on like every single like 0 for 3. So I was like, well, I like that.
Well, hey, it showed some initiative, right? And it marked some things off in your book of like, so
And
I
it's
did my job
also
right.
that's the way it's going to be if you're working on a project too, right? Like this is other stuff that we're doing. It's like, oh, it's scheduling
Yeah.
an interview or it's scheduling a meeting. But like when stuff needs to get done and you do only have 24 hours to do it, I know I could count on you.
Yeah.
So
And expectations too,
what
right? Of like setting expectations, like what you're saying of like if there's multiple people, especially in what you do, where there's so many different lines of command that are all affecting the job, like at the end of the day, the person that you're like the client, the one that you're or the customer that you're communicating to, as long as they know, hey, this is what we're working on, this is what required of them to keep things streaming along, and then everything else keeps moving. Typically, people don't care about all the details as long as the project is getting moving on time and that they feel fully aware of what's going on and the expectations are set, then people are happy with it. But it's when people are left in the dark and there's no communication that they're making up a story in their head of what could potentially be happening. Oh, we're over budget. Oh, we're not on time. Oh, all these different things start happening. If you're not doing that proactive communication to explain to them, nope, these are happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Having that person to be able to communicate is huge.
and I also think that habit of when first of all closing the loop. So like you just booked a meeting. Well, that sends me a notice like Danielle booked a meeting. So I already had it, I already knew. But then you
Mhm.
followed up with the email, and then you followed up with the thank you, and sent the thing. And so I think a lot of people could just stop, like you booked the interview, like that's enough. And then,
Mhm.
but when you can close the loop and close the loop, the other thing I think it does with Pete, and I tell people like I'm going to do it's either 24 hours, 2 hours, or 15 minutes for me. And I'm kind of like with your husband. For me, it's a 15 minute. Like if it's less than 15 minutes,
Yeah,
like I did one before the interview, and I probably shouldn't have, but it was like this is a 15-minute thing I'm going to do. But
there you go.
if I don't get back to you in 24 hours, it means I missed something. And I do. You know what I mean? From time to time, I miss something. So that's what I tell my team. Is like, if you sent me something and I haven't responded in 24 hours, it means I missed it. Because I'm at
Mhm.
least going to say, hey, I'm working on this. I'm waiting on more information. Or so
Yeah,
it's just a
support.
habit that somebody, a week doesn't go by and they're like, well, I gave it to you on Wednesday. I was like, for a fact I would have had it back to you on Thursday just because of who I am. So, anyways,
Yep.
we're going to have some fun. And I think a
Yes.
lot of people appreciate that approach into
That
business.
is so true, though. Just like the selfish part of it, even of like, if I have a conversation with you, it's fresh on my mind of what you just said. Why not get it done right there when instead you're sitting there going, well, what did they say? Or did I not? Where did that note go? Or if you do it right then when it's fresh in your head, like you get it, it's off your brain space and in an email and you've gotten it all taken care of. If you wait too long, you're going to forget what that conversation was, most likely.
Yeah.
So that I love that.
Yeah. If you're not taking great notes, and I'll bet you're taking great notes too. Like, I'm not even going to ask you about that, but uh, I'll bet you take great notes. So I do want to ask you what are some of the things? So a lot of your clients are the same as our clients, or even our competitors. What are some of the things that's working on the marketing side, or things even better might be what's not working? That's
Yeah.
important to share. What in this industry specifically? What are the things that are
Yeah, that's a great question. I think
traction?
something, and there's a couple things there. So the first thing is I feel like this is an industry in which education of like educating your customer, right? Like of why things could get better or why things could be optimized or changed or tweaked more is so important. So how do you educate your customer unless you're sitting right in front of them, educating them on a particular service and how you can help solve a problem? That's great. We love that. But where do people go to get education? they go to the internet, right? So your website, what is your website like teaching your ideal customer about what problems you solve, how you can help, and making it easy to get in contact with you? So how do we answer that from a marketing perspective? That could be anything from creating really powerful informational videos that can go on YouTube. So when somebody's searching for, say, you're like what you do, like rack, they need a particular type of rack. Maybe Mark pops up on a video explaining the benefits between push rack versus this rack. Well, all of a sudden that makes you become the thought leader in that space, right? So content, the power of content and putting content out on your website and on the internet for people to be able to see, that's a huge thing that is working in this space. And that's not even just in this industry, but educating people comes from content. So that's one thing. Another thing is when people search for you, where do they go? They go to the internet, right? That's where everybody's going. If they have a problem or if they need help with something, they're going to go to the internet. So are you proactively getting the people that are looking for your services or looking for something that you offer? Are you proactively advertising on the platforms that they're searching for to be able to pop up first? For instance, Google advertising, which we've talked about in the past. So those are where those kinds of methods come into play. So there's a lot of things. Those are the two that stand out: is content, creating content for your website and online video content, and then also having a really strong Google advertising program in place to be able to capture those really hot leads that are looking for your services. So that's definitely working.
And ours is similar to the Franke's example, is that a lot of our clients, there's a pretty fair mix, but because of my experience in the industry, a lot of the clients we deal with are other dealers. So we're, in a way, we're marketing to them because we have more experience in things like systems like drive-in or pushback. We've got a huge amount of used inventory, hundreds of truckloads of used. So it's other dealers, but then also we have end users, and they're all different levels of sophistication. I mean, when I first got in this business, I learned a lot, but what I learned is from my end users. They knew more about racking than I did, but I picked their brains, built on what they knew. And now there's certain verticals, like it's the beverage industry. So how do you work with something like that? And then we want people have the tools to succeed on our website. Like if there's installation manuals or pictures of systems, like you said, videos. So how do you kind of split it, I guess, is my question. If you got, you want your retail customers to call you, but then you also, for us, we want people all over the country. So we can add to our network, right? I mean, hopefully there's
Absolutely.
a Toyota dealer in the Mid-South that I will call.
Yeah,
I
we
would
know
call
one.
Sean. Yeah, I will call Sean.
Yeah.
I promise, probably within 15 minutes of this phone call, I will call him.
Yes. I think so. Content on your website. And again, I don't want to get too like technical here
Yeah.
for what we do, but as far as when we create a website or we are creating content and pushing that out, what that does over time is it helps with organic traffic. So what that means is free traffic coming to your website, free traffic coming to your YouTube channel if you have videos. So over time that builds. So investing in quality content that is jam-packed with SEO and keywords that you're wanting to go after is a long-term play for kind of continually getting those kinds of leads and people that are looking for those services. But then on the proactive and the more like advertising side of it, it's all about identifying what your ideal customer is, because I think there's always going to be people that come to you that you're like, they might not be your ideal client, but you're always going to get those kinds of trickling leads, if you would, come in, right? But if that's not the most, which one is going to drive the most revenue for your business? Like if we can nail in on who that client is, like for you, for specialized storage, it's a X million-dollar job or this type, we can all of a sudden start targeting people that are going to be making those kinds of decisions, not just a onesie twosie shop off the street that might find you online anyway. But how do we weed out, a higher quality lead versus a lower quality and really go after those ones that are going to generate more revenue for you? I think that's a targeting play and understanding who your ideal customer is, like working with, it would be me and you and our team figuring out who that is and coming up with a Google advertising program that targets that. Um, does that answer, Chris, your question a little
It
bit?
does. It does. So the website, it's going to attract everybody, I guess, is what you're saying. And then the research, like how people find you, uh, is in how they contact you. And then so I also want to just clarify really quick. You guys actually help with the shooting of some of the videos, right? Weren't you sharing an example where you guys actually help create some of the content and shoot?
Yeah.
Do you
So
do
we're
that?
not Yeah, we're not like a video production company, but we have a really strong partner, like strategic partner network, that do shoot. And what we do, there's a really, really fun collaboration with it is because we help, manage the logistics. We help manage storyboarding and making sure that we want to help like you, specialized storage, get exactly what you need out of that video. And so we help plan, coordinate, scripting, all of that kind of stuff with our video partner in order to execute something that we can use. Because at the end of the day, powerful video, educational content, professional photos, that is going to help me as a marketer do our job better for you and communicate better. So we kind of help support and get those videos coordinated. But we have strategic partners in place to create those things.
That sounds like a cool part of it. It's like, well, actually, I've talked to other people. I have my old boss did it on he was one of the first to put video on his website. I said, man, I like that. It's professional. It's professionally done. He's like, I hate it because he doesn't want to be. He doesn't look at it and say it's any good. Like I thought it was really good, but yours
And
look.
it's all in the message too, right? Of like, some people don't like being on camera. We also help identify that of like, who is the person? It might be the president is very well spoken and needs to be on camera, but it also might be a technician or a project manager or somebody who has a completely different perspective that's on camera. And I think there's something really, when you work with people like us and a really good video partner, people that can ask questions and make you feel natural as you can on the camera, because so many people, especially in this industry, are not comfortable or familiar with being on camera. But having people that can kind of help and coach you through and ask the right questions, so it's not like you're reading off a script and you have to say this word for word. It's so much more conversational, and we're always amazed at, when you're behind the lens and you're watching somebody do a video and then what actually comes to life once editing and scripting and music. And it's remarkable what can happen. Like you're like, oh, I butchered that. And then all of a sudden they splice it up together and it's this beautiful thing. So it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, and it's fun. And all the people, so I've invited all these people. I've invited hundreds, so I know that a lot of them, the best operators, and they don't want to go. And a lot of them have been surprised because I'm like, I'm going to ask a question. It's going to be fun. It's going to be more like a conversation. Just want to hear like what you
Yeah.
learned. And people want to hear these stories. You got 20, 30, 40 years of experience. So it's been fun. And people do.
Yep.
And you kind of forget that it's being recorded. Sometimes it's not even being recorded.
Sometimes,
So that's all the pressure is off.
sometimes, yes, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capture it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Or be excited about doing over. So I want to ask you a question I thought about earlier, but so I want to say the best way to phrase this. One of my best friends is Nancy Fatine, and she's in the engineering part of our business. Is one really, 20, 30 years experience in the business. I've dealt with her for a long time, but she shared with me that it's hard in this industry. It's kind of a man. There's one of the last industries that's male dominated.
Yeah.
And I had her on the podcast. She was one of my first guests. She's awesome, and I think she wanted me to ask about that, and I didn't. So I want to ask you, like, what are you finding? Maybe that's not true. I think it is, but share some, what you're finding or strategies. I mean, for me, I'm like, it's the person who can get the job done, right? But
Right.
share a little about your experience about it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. No, me and my business partner, we're actually a team of all women. So, and in a very heavily male dominated space, it works to our benefit. I feel like it's something that we've never had like where we felt disrespected or under, like, I need to talk to the man. We've been very fortunate in our space of like, it's worked to our benefit that like having that woman's touch and that woman's approach. And hey, we are that, like, so many of our clients and people that were there, like, we came to you because we don't know what you guys do, and we don't know what the best, how to position this or what the most creative thing is. So being able to like lean into the fact that we know what we're doing, we're the experts in this space, and we can explain why, like, and back that up. Our clients are always so receptive to the fact that they hired us for a reason. And we've never ever once had to struggle with that kind of respect or disrespect, which we're really fortunate to. I actually talked with another girl on our podcast. Her name was Michelle Boykin. She's the COO of Rackley Roofing. They're a roofer here in Tennessee. Really big business. But she talked about, did a presentation where she put a picture of her and her husband up on, a screen in a presentation room of, like, it was a roofing conference or something like that. And she said, which one of these look like the roofer? Like, is it who looks like the roofer? And they were like, oh, or does my husband look like a roofer? That's what it was. And everybody's like, yeah, everybody, and then she goes, well, what does a roofer look like? And everybody got really quiet and really awkward. And she was like, actually, would you be surprised to know that I'm the roofer? But kind of just showing that exactly what you're saying. It's not about woman or man, but like who has the expertise and who can get the job done at the end of the day, and breaking through that mold. Because there is this perception of what, those kinds of people are. Like, what does a roofer look like? Why is it a man? We don't know. She could go up on the roof just as easy as a man can. But we've never had any sort of disrespect or anybody say in this world, even though it is a more male dominated industry for sure.
Yeah, I love hearing that because I'm in my 50s, and it's funny. It's like now I have idea. Like I never thought. I thought I always have the new ideas, right? Like I'm gonna be that's the cutting edge. But now my kids laugh at me because I say
Yeah,
things. What's that? Because I've lost track, and they lie and they won't tell you. That's the other thing. They just laugh. It's like, oh, you're so far out. But I'm glad to hear, because in our business, I think one of the things is everybody, there's a generation and they all haven't retired. Like a lot of people stay in this industry. So I think that's what makes it kind of like that. People get the perception because there's a lot of old school, but I see it changing. I love your story. I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad you're, I'll get to tell Nancy, I'll go, well, it's actually no big deal.
It's a good, well, and again, I'm sure there are instances where women have not felt the same.
No,
but I will say we've been very fortunate that is not something that we've ever had to battle. If anything, it's an internal battle, and that's what I would say to any other woman. And that's actually what Michelle Boykin and I talked about, was like, you're probably holding, as a woman or man, you're holding yourself back way farther than any man or woman or anybody, boss, manager. What you tell yourself in your head and your perception of it is reality. So if that is what you think of when you're going into a meeting or whatever that is, then that is your reality of it. And that's what's going to shape your perspective on it. But, if you're confident, your stuff, that you're the expert and the badass in the room, all of a sudden that perspective change, your reality changes. So I absolutely believe in that. And to be honest, what you just said, you're like, your kids say that you, like, Dad, you're so far off, or you're so behind, whatever. If anything, people will go, oh my gosh, you look so young. Like, how you look so, if anything, it's, you look so young. You don't look old enough to be a business. Thank you. Thank you. I get that far more than, oh, you're a girl in industrial. It's like, how old are you again? Are you old enough to be doing this?
I just gave you the keys to my company. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I like the last question I like to ask is, what is a new technology that you're using in the last, I would say, year, 2 years? What's something that you weren't doing a year ago that you're doing now? Technology.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, like a lot of companies, understanding AI and how it fits in, that's probably the biggest thing as far as marketing is concerned. because I think people actually did a video that on our social media about this of like, why do I need a marketing company? I just have Chat GTP to write me a caption or write up whatever you need. Well, you have to know how to work with AI. It's just like any other tool. You have to learn how to work with it. And I think it's something that it is super powerful, but you can see through it. You can see, like, especially me as a marketer, like somebody who knows and is familiar with how those things work, you can see what is a real person, or at least, but it is a really powerful tool that can be a good starting point to give you, it's a great idea generator of like, hey, I have this idea. Could you kind of brainstorm with me a few more additional ideas? And AI tools are really powerful for idea generation. So I think trying to figure out how AI, like how we can utilize it, but not fully rely on it, because it is like it at the end of the day, it's not human. It tries to be, and if you ask it, it tells you tricky things. But that is one major one, that just learning how that fits in, not only just our world, but our clients, like customers' world too. And then another one I will say is TikTok is one of the one of everybody says, well, shouldn't we be on TikTok? That's all we get, that so much of,
Yeah.
well, why aren't we on TikTok? Why aren't we on TikTok? That's another one that we've had to kind of navigate. And there are definitely businesses that belong on TikTok and are seeing really powerful things happen there. But we always like to come back to what is your goal for being on TikTok? Is it you want a bunch of views? Are you trying to drive new leads and have new growth? Or do you want mass viral? What is your goal? Because if you want the masses and viral, TikTok could be a great place for you. However, if you are wanting more about, I want qualified hot leads or people that are in your sphere that could actually become a client, TikTok might not be our first tactic. So those are the two things that in the past year that have come up a lot more.
And so what's the final? So you're saying the final verdict on TikTok is I don't know.
So here's the other thing I will say too is, so TikTok, if you're familiar with it or on it, it's people. You have to have a personality. It's not like, it's not people push product, and there are companies that advertise on those channels. But if you look at who is advertising there, most oftentimes it's somebody, it's like, it's not, I wouldn't just say influencer because that's a buzzword, but like it's people interacting with products and telling people why this product or service works, versus, and storytelling versus an advertisement popping up for a rack. You don't see that on TikTok. That's not going to work on TikTok. Like, it's about the way that those products are being interacted with and advertised on that channel. It's not the same as other markets. It's not a catalog like on Amazon where you see just a shirt walk by. It's going to be somebody talking about a shirt, interacting with the shirt, saying why you should get the shirt. So how the human aspect is selling products on TikTok versus other places.
And so what should I want on Instagram? So we started Instagram a little over a year ago, just because I'm not a big social, like I've never had a Facebook account in my whole life. But my thing is, if I ever get really mad at somebody enough, one of my friends, I'm going to join Facebook, make them a friend, and then unfriend them. Because I think I hear about people unfriending people on Facebook, and I'm like, that is so rude. But I'm like, if I'm ever really mad, if I ever get mad enough, I will join Facebook, I will friend you and unfriend you. But
Oh
I
my
thought
gosh.
Instagram for businesses, I saw a trend. I was like, well, we should be in the beginning of this, but what does a business like ours, what do I want from Instagram? I really, honestly, I don't even know. I mean, I know I want to be early to the party versus late,
Yep.
but I mean, I think it's new clients who go, oh, racking, Napa. I'm in Napa. I need racking, or I don't know.
Yeah, there's some power in being participating in those channels from what we've seen of LinkedIn is honestly probably, if any of the most, like, that's going to generate the most, qualified people looking at your content. And I would say too, what we've kind of talked about offline is, how are you on LinkedIn specifically? Is your company showing up? How are they showing up? And then how are you as the president and the thought leader interacting with your business on LinkedIn? Because I think there's a really powerful thing on LinkedIn. number one, that's where people are like in B2B are going for really rich content that's relevant for what you sell. But then also your connections and you showing up and giving your perspective on what, like, it's a really powerful place for driving more actual growth. Whereas what we've seen, Instagram and Facebook, there's definitely a part to play, but it's more about organic search traffic. Facebook plays with Google really well. So, and visibility, right? Like from an employee standpoint or attracting potential employees, again, where do people go? They're going to go to Facebook. Oh, are they on Instagram? But are they on LinkedIn? What is their website looking? How are you being attractive to potential employees as well? That's where social media plays such a big part too of retention. Like, how are you loving on your employees and then treating your employees? And then also, how are you attracting new talent and people from the outside as well? So from an attraction standpoint, social is a huge move.
Awesome. And LinkedIn, I'm glad. So LinkedIn's where we focus most of our attention over the years on social. And that's where I post. That's the only place I post the podcast. And it's on Spotify. It's on all the podcast players, would only really advertise it on LinkedIn because it is for that core group. Like, I'm not trying to go viral with 1 million people. Like, if we had 20 people call us in the next 30 days, that would be awesome.
It's the power of showing. It's the power of consistency and showing up too. Kind of similar to like the timeliness and the proactiveness of. We have a client who's in the wastewater space. He's very active. He's the president. I had him on the show too, Dustin Dowdy. He does a glorious job of, we run his business social media content, but he shares his content and is the thought leader and shares his perspective. He's so good about sharing things that there's so much power in that. And not only that, like his key employees also share it. And this just creates this like mass visibility of your business. And then also what he's seen is people will be like, oh, I saw you share this post. Like, who's doing your social media? Like, it looks great. It just creates buzz and good conversation, if anything else. So that he's a very good example also of how it works really well of, having really good, rich business content on LinkedIn, but then how do you share it in a thoughtful way as the leader and as the key people in an organization? How are they sharing it as well?
That is awesome. So we're going to have links to all those people that you mentioned. Michelle, what was Michelle's last name that did the great interview about women in the roofing business?
Michelle Boykin. That one should be, that one's live tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to put links to their LinkedIn profiles, and then they'll be able to find on your podcast, the Industry Edge. Share other ways. What's the best way to get a hold of you if people want to reach out?
Yeah, for sure. KNCMarketingagency.com. That's where all of our past work, and you can get in contact with us. We're, of course, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, KNC Marketing Agency there. But then if you wanted to reach out to me personally, my email is Danielle@KNCMarketingagency.com. I'd absolutely love to chat with, if anything that we've talked about is interesting to somebody listening, love to chat more and do a free brand assessment of kind of where they stand in the marketplace. Absolutely happy to do that as well.
Yeah, you guys generated one of those for us. It's amazing. It was like a report card, and I remember looking at it.
How you're tracking.
It was right on, yeah. And you'd taken great notes in the beginning. You'd really stated the opportunity better than I could have myself. So check that out. Check out the podcast. And Danielle, this has been awesome, man. I so appreciate your energy, your enthusiasm, your Mrs. Proactive. And I love that.
This was great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Thanks for listening to the Tao of Pizza podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.